Pluto retrograde part 2. I'm going to blame it on Mercury being retrograde. In any case, my computer shut down, and so here we are again. So where I was I was talking about the cardinal signs still being impacted by Pluto as it retrogrades back to 29, 28, 27 degrees of Capricorn. And I was just saying that for those people, there's still matters that are unresolved, and it will be a time and an opportunity to resolve, right, to clear things out. Pluto is always the death and the rebirth, you know, the annihilation, the destruction, the deconstruction of things, and then recreating, regenerating itself, right? So Pluto has tremendous power, you know, on all of those levels, and anything that's unresolved, Pluto will dig up. You know, that's part of its job, as it were. And when the retrograde journey happens, it's always an opportunity to go back into those fields, that landscape within, and figure some shit out, basically, right? Figure out what is still there's many things unresolved for all of us. That will, you know, probably be the case for infinity, as it were. And so that it's the timing of certain sectors and chapters, themes of our life when Pluto goes retrograde, that it enables us to work through those. And at this time, because Pluto has recently just ingressed into Aquarius, it is a very profound and deep preparation for the soul's evolution and growth in this next collective chapter of Pluto in Aquarius, and then Pluto in Aquarius in our own individual and personal life. And so when Pluto goes retrograde, like I was saying earlier, it has an energy about it that's non-consensus, non-Saturn reality, right? And that's a powerful gift, right? Because when we are overly consumed or engaged with that external reality, it just keeps us busy and busier and busier, and often keeps us further and further away from the soul, right? Just take a look at the world, you know, that's the world of the personality. There's the proof is right there. And it's often when people, you know, when something happens in a person's life that is a crisis or a cataclysmic event that sort of puts a person in a certain position where they can't do all the things they were doing, and so they're sort of forced to surrender to that higher will. A lot of people won't read it in that way. They'll read it more through frustration, bad luck, you know, yada yada. But there's always, I think the soul is always calling us, you know, it's always calling us to assimilate and to integrate with its desires, whatever they are. So for the next couple of weeks, at least, we're going to have a Sun-Mercury conjunction, which will be a cazimi, and we often use that word for the Venus star points, but a cazimi is a conjunction with the Sun and any planet for that matter. And so there starts a new cycle there as well, with Mercury then shortly after leaving, finishing the retrograde cycle, forming the conjunction to the Sun, so planting new seeds with everything that we think about, specifically with our relationship to the Earth, because Taurus is the Earth itself. And of course, as I mentioned in my Mercury retrograde video, it's always good to consider the trigon, the trinity of the Earth signs. So all the Earth signs and the Earth houses could be considered with Mercury's retrograde cycle, and also with the cazimi conjunction, which, you know, weeks down the track, we'll see those seeds flowering relative to what we perhaps consciously intend particularly on the time of the conjunction, because then Mercury is born, reborn, as it were, as a morning star. So we're going to see, it's a bit like a new moon phase, right? New moon cycle, but it's a new cycle for Mercury. And also Jupiter is going to be doing the same thing, right? Because as you can see, Jupiter is at 27 of Aries in terms of the 4th of May, and it goes into Taurus. What's the date of that? (16th of May). So Mercury stations direct on the 15th of May, and the very next day Jupiter enters Taurus. So Mercury will be stationary direct, I think, at 5 degrees of Taurus, and then the next day Jupiter jumps into Taurus. So Jupiter is also going to, catch up. It's going to also become a morning star as well. So there's some new energy, new portals beginning with Jupiter becoming a morning star, Mercury becoming a morning star. And another way of understanding that would be to say that perhaps we'll have clearer perspective and clearer insights of our future, if you like, and of the things that we have been working through, resolving, contemplating, reflecting on relative to Mercury and Jupiter things, especially with this example here. So we've got that going on, which is really encouraging. That's in the middle of the month. What else was there that I wanted to mention? I noticed that at the moment, the asteroid Pandora, which I recently posted a picture of her exquisite art. I love looking for art that comes from the, earlier centuries anyway, really old ancient art from incredible artists that I'm not sure any of those sorts of artists still exist really. Anyway, there was this like exquisite painting of Pandora, and it just got me sort of rethinking about her story and her myth, because she's such a key figure into, I suppose, what's become our experience of this 3D reality. And I suppose the theme that is also in, biblical scriptures, in certain myths and stories and so forth about man and his fall from grace, as it were, and I don't think that's neither right or wrong, good or bad. I think it was just kind of inevitable, because when you go to much deeper principles, consciousness and energy is breathing, if you like, through every single one of us, and is seeking to evolve and experience life in the infinite myriads of ways there are to experience life, right? So with that process does come, curiosity, desire, wanting to know what that feels like, what that looks like, how would I do that, so on and so forth. So anyway, Pandora, however, is a key figure in, releasing the darker shades, that have become part of the fabric of the reality that we see by opening, Pandora's box, which originally I read somewhere that box was a term that was sort of, it came in later to replace another word that was similar to box. I've just forgotten what it was, but it was just an interesting point. I wish I still had the article, but I don't. So anyway, Pandora at the moment is actually, where is she? She's at 10 degrees of Pisces. So she's sitting here with Saturn. Now, there's lots of ideas that come to my mind out of that. I think the first one that jumps out for me is because it's all happening in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, Pandora's box in Pisces, I think it's a bit of an archetypal projection, if you like, of the feeling of what is actually really going on this earth plane at the moment. Who do we believe? Who do we trust? When you see the images, the art of Pandora, she's just there, right? But she has her hands on the box, and it depends which art you look at, but mostly it's her just, reaching to open it, right? She's sort of looking like this. And so I feel that sort of reflects at the moment, there's this ocean, Pisces, of material stuff, things that are being opened up, right? Saturn might be trying to shut it down, because that would be Saturn's nature, to put a stop to something, to sever it. You look at, pictures of Kronos, Saturn, who has that stick with sickle, symbolizing the severing, the separating of things, right? But Saturn is in Pisces, so there's a really weird cosmic energy going on with Saturn in Pisces and Pandora's box right there with Saturn. I feel like there is material or aspects of life that are trying to be opened up in some kind of way. I guess, at a more esoteric and evolved level, that would look like looking into a cosmic ocean of love and unity and oneness, and the remembrance of the fact that we are all one. We just don't feel it, see it, understand it necessarily in this physical world, in our physical bodies, because we have this thing called personality, we have this thing called the body, and we have this thing called time-space reality, which creates separation, division, and so forth. And so understanding the matter of oneness is not a left brain linear thing. It's an embodied experience that one might attain through a deep process of meditation or ecstatic dance or poetry or art or music, all Venusian things, by the way. Nature, Venus in Taurus, nature, the earth, right? Things that inspire and are natural, connected to natural law, natural rhythms. Thinking of Venus star point and the sequence of the Fibonacci ratio and how that is seen throughout the earth plane in multiple layers, including in the 5 starman in Da Vinci's depiction of the starman, which is the 5-pointed star, which is 72-degree quintile aspects, which speaks to something called the golden ratio, which is all about the harmony, the natural harmony that is inherent in everything, actually. So if we look at Pisces from that deeper level, which takes us into the potential for actual truth being connecting to Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, the source of all truth, to see and to remember that no matter how much things appear divided and separate, we're still all one, and everything vibrates in a particular harmony, right? So Pandora's box here, conjunct Saturn, can evoke some very dark material and content, collectively on the ether, but it can also bring us to much higher levels of insight and inspiration and understanding and connection to the truth that resides within all of us. That's how I would see that. But, we are dealing with Saturn, Chronos, which corresponds to this time-space reality, which has a lot of limitations. And when you're talking about Saturn in Pisces, you've got to use Saturn's beautiful, disciplinarian, committed, responsible attributes with the visions of truth in Pisces. It's bringing together those, one is more abstract and ethereal, right? And not of this world, Pisces. And then the other is the form and the structure and the reality of this world, Saturn. So there's beautiful things that can be created through the combination of that energy. I think we're going to see a lot of that in a lot of the digital art world, with the whole AI thing that's coming up like a full force, and we're going to see a lot of terrible things with that, and then we're going to see a lot of magnificent art produced with that as well. It's, again, because we are living in a world of duality at very cataclysmic times where the ego is so threatened, I think, at this time, because there's this great sense of annihilation, especially with Pluto in Aquarius, really urging us to remembering humanity, remembering our own humanity within us, and remembering that we exist within a humanity, a world of humans and of humanity, right? And also, February Aquarius connecting to purifying. So what are we purifying? We're purifying the soul, as it were. We're purifying aspects of our own self, of our own beingness, to allow the deeper, more purified aspects of the soul to come through, with this journey of Pluto in Aquarius, so that we can impact purification on this beautiful earth of Mother Earth, who gives us every single day with her oxygen and everything that the earth gives us, the sustenance, the food, everything, right? So there has to be a very profound purification and clearing. This is obviously bigger picture things that is necessary. So there's nothing, in truth, there is nothing wrong with anything that's happening at any point, really. I know that's a hard one for us to digest and accept at certain times, because there'll be certain things happening, whether it's externally or whether it's personally in our life, that will trigger and activate certain responses within us that fire us up, or that hurt us or aggravate us, or whatever it is. But again, we are always we're always responsible for our reactions and our responses, and we are responsible for our own level of awareness and clear seeing and understanding as well, and our own resolving. There's a beautiful quote it goes something like this: a wise man once said nothing. I really love that because when Pluto goes retrograde, it does take us into that zone where we don't have to, but we would benefit greatly by disengaging from the various things that are going on out there, right? In order to get more soul-centered, right? Aligning the soul with personality more, centering ourselves and finding ways to probe more deeply, to ask deeper questions, to be more at ease or more comfortable with uncomfortable truths, even about our own self, right? These are all the sorts of things that can come up with Pluto retrograde. And of course, it depends, you know, where it is in the chart and so forth as well. I think those are the main themes that I really wanted to cover today. I'm certainly going to come back with more, of course, but I think for today I'll leave it there. So there's part 1 and part 2. And I didn't want to redo the whole video again mainly because Coco was in the first one, and that's really important for me that I have her in as many videos as I can. So in summary, profound time for coming to deeper resolutions within ourselves about certain life chapters, certain life journeys, preparing for these new phases of both Jupiter and Mercury, who will become morning stars. I will be back to talk about Jupiter and Taurus. And also, I think an important date is Jupiter conjunct the North Node in Taurus. I like that. It's a pretty good aspect. What date is that? Well, let's just have a look. So my notes are a bit scribbly today. So I'll just animate a chart and we can just have a quick look. So, I mean, really the conjunction, you know, I just want to go back to about here. The conjunction's already there. It's already starting to happen, but they are in different signs there. But in terms of exactitude, we want one around about there, which is what, that's like the 1st of June. Or, 31st of May, that conjunction comes in. So there's something more promising about the second half of May, because Mercury stations direct, becomes a morning star, visible. In other words, you know, things are going to become more clear and visible to ourselves as well. Jupiter going into Taurus, forming a conjunction to the North Node, which, you know, very briefly put, that could be very meaningful alliances and associations and connections that we form or that come together at that time, that are quite fruitful. You know, it's Venus ruled signs, or a Venus ruled sign, you know, and Jupiter in Taurus does quite well. I've seen lots of people with Jupiter in Taurus natally, and they usually do quite well in the material world, right? And you know, that's important to a lot of people. To some others it's not so important, but I think, you know, at a more mystical and deeper level, you know, Taurus takes us into the deep subjects and mysteries of Venus, the teachings of Venus, and, you know, to really grasp the depth of the goddess Venus, you need to understand the Venus star points. You need to understand her myth and story as, you know, the goddess Inanna, who descended into the underworld, and what that story is really about, and what happened in that story, and how the ancients, I'm talking about the Mayan calendars and Mayan sort of times, if you like, their understanding of the goddess Venus, you know, tracking Venus's movement and her power as a morning star, which is a Taurus archetype. And then, you know, her journey as an evening star, which is more the Libran archetype. So Taurus, of course, has this undeniable earth side and nature to it, which extends to the entire material plane on every level. But it also is our relationship to the Earth Mother, Goddess Mother. And then it is also drawing from deeper, more mysterious, unknowable content to the conscious mind, as it were. And that usually comes up when Venus is retrograde for 40 days. There's something very powerful that takes place about Venus on those mysterious levels. But I will talk about that when I speak about Venus going retrograde in Leo, which is happening on the 23rd of July. That will be the Venus morning star. It's going to be square Uranus. So I have quite a bit to share about that, but that will be a little bit later down the track. So I'll leave you guys with these two offerings, and I hope they are useful. And yeah, as always, share your comments and questions. I always look forward to reading your comments and questions. Thanks again for watching. And if you are new here, thanks for dropping by. And, you know, feel free to subscribe to my channel or share my channel or share my video. And feel free to reach out to me. My email is in the description below this video if you would like to have a reading with me. So see you guys soon. Much love.